So right now in our dashboard, we have information related to kind of geospatial information. We've got the product category and we have states and kind of how much they sell of this particular category, but we don't have anything about kind of how a selected state contributes to the overall sales in this product category. So for instance, if I select Sao Paulo, how much of home appliances total sales does Sao Paulo represent? So let's, or represent across a bunch of different categories, for instance, maybe not just home appliances. So let's use another action, namely changing parameter values in order to drive this action or drive this this kind of investigation. So let's go to create parameter, and we will say we'll call this display state. Right, and then for display state, we're going to say it's going to be a string. The allowable, let's do values from a list, and then add values from customer state. So this is just another way of doing, if we went to customer state and said create parameter, it's the same functionality, just a different way. And you know, we need to, it's often helpful to have multiple ways of doing the same thing. So let's hit OK. And now we've got our new display state down here. And so what we're going to be doing then is saying customer state, and then we'll create a set of this this particular variable. And then the same thing we did earlier in a separate place. We're going to call this proportional brushing, and we'll talk about what that is in a moment. And we'll say state, and then by condition, by formula, and then the same thing we did earlier. Customer state is equal to display state. So again, what is this saying? It's saying set membership is determined whether the customer state is in the display state, yes or no. And if display state is just one thing, it's basically saying if the customer state is the display state, then it's in this set. And if it's not, then it's out of this set. So the set's always going to have one member in this particular case. And this proportional brushing is going to be used to differentiate colors. So it's going to be one color in our visualization for in the set and one color for out of the set. So we'll kind of play with this a little bit more as time goes on. So let's make a new sheet here, and we'll do the same thing that we did a moment ago. We're going to say product, or similar thing, I guess. Let's say product category English as our rows, and then our price as our columns. Price as our columns. Same thing we had earlier, and let's sort this thing by price. Awesome. So that's kind of interesting right off the bat that health and beauty is the biggest, watches and gifts. This is kind of interesting. And then the last thing that we can do here, well, no, let's just do this now. So let's go to price, and we'll say quick table calculation, percentage of total. And then we'll say compute using, well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's do the brushing first. So let's take our proportional brushing, and it should be up with the customers here. Proportional brushing, and put it here like this. So right now we don't have a state in there. So like let's go here to edit our parameter values, and let's do a big one. Let's do Sao Paulo. Notice what's happened here. Blue is now Sao Paulo and gray is not Sao Paulo. And if I change this display category, for instance, I'll change it manually here, and I'll change this to Rio. Now it's in and out again. Blue is always in the set or whatever our display state is, and gray is out. And I can actually spice this up a little bit more by saying things like this. I'll say quick table calculation, percentage of total. Actually, that's not quite what I want. I want to put the price. I want to put the value on here. So I'm actually going to drag price to text, but I don't want the numbers themselves. I want this thing to be percentage of total. But then this isn't what I mean either. Notice that I want this to be like the percentage across, and so I actually need to say compute using table across rather than down. So what I can say then is if I show the display state, and I'll just show it here so I know what it is. In Rio, in this particular, like Rio accounts for 11% of the sales in this product category, and everything else is 88%. It accounts for 15% here, and so on and so on. If I change this to Sao Paulo, I get 36% of all health and beauty, so on and so on. So 36% for watches and gifts, 46% for bed and bath and table, and all of this stuff. So how are we actually going to drive the behavior here? So let's drag this in into our visualization here, into our dashboard. I'm going to put it over here by itself. I'm not saying this layout is the best. I'm not actually that great at layout, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't have much of like an artistic eye, and so this kind of stuff is it can be difficult. So I'm just going to kind of leave it like this for right now, and just forgive me. Okay, so the point though is that we can now start working on this and changing these things. So we have a display state, but it's not connected to anything. So if I select these things, it doesn't change anything. So what do I want to do? I want to go up to dashboard in my ribbon and say actions, and we're going to make a new action, and we're going to call this it's a change parameter value, and we'll call this display state. That's our action. And our target parameter is display state, this one that we want to show, and the field here is, let's say, customer state. So for instance, if I go here and say, okay, oh, and the aggregation is concatenate. I think this is a tricky one. I think this is true. Let me hit OK here. I ran into this problem and it took me forever to debug. Okay, so how will I know if this is working? So if I hit Sao Paulo, it should work. If I hit MG, so notice what happens. My display state is now MG, and all of this has changed to reflect that. If I select Rio here, my display state has changed to Rio. My values change here. And if I had, I still have my highlighting turned off and to kind of go both ways, but I could highlight down here. Or if I select here, let's say I'll change it to Sao Paulo, it changes this too. So all of this changes together. So whether I select the state here or here, whether I select the state here or here, all of this is now working together, and I can start pulling these things. Like all of these pieces are working together now. It's not just one or the other. Obviously, this is kind of a mess. I've got a whole bunch of things to clean up here. And again, this is kind of the point of dashboards. Like if we were going to try to make this like really presentable to a client, we would need, okay, like fix all these titles. Do the same thing, adjust the membership here, so maybe it's only the top 5 because there's just too much stuff here, and then pull all these pieces and start using space a little bit better. And again, all of these things are really important. So kind of here we're just kind of doing a tour, and in fact next week and the next full collection of videos, we're going to be doing this from start to finish, where we can really not kind of ignore all of these little details. For the time being, though, we're just trying to accumulate tools rather than make a finished, like a design-ready or customer-ready product. So we still have some more actions to talk about, so I'm going to cut the video at this point, and we'll talk more about set membership and all of this in a future video.